Hello, welcome back to Practice with Polly. A friend of mine asked me recently, how do you put together all those spice blends that you use for your cooking? And I said, it's really easy. You just kind of combine the spices up, and they go, well, how do you do that? You just buy them, and I'm going to show you a real easy way that I put together a spice mixture. I'm going to do this video series in 3 parts. I'll show you how first this part 1, will be how to put the spices together and grind them up and use immediately in your cooking, whether you cook it in a sauce or a stew or anything that requires some cooking time. And the second part will be how to use it and put it on. And the third part, after you have already cooked your meals. And then the third part will be how to actually roast these spices so you can have them ready to go to sprinkle on at any time. Right? So let's start first with how to put together a spice mix. I put together in my last video a really nice base spice mix called cumin, coriander, and fennel. And I use this as a tea. And you can use it as a tea. And I keep this mixture, just a mixture of 1 part cumin seed, which is these nice little small seeds here that have this lovely aroma to that, nice for digestion. 6 parts coriander seed, which is the seed of fennel, or excuse me, the seed of cilantro, which is nice and cooling. And then our third spice is fennel seed, which has that lovely licorice taste. So I made that spice mix with 1 part of cumin seed, 6 parts of coriander, and 6 parts of fennel. And if you'd like to see that video, please go back and look at my CCFT video. So this is the mixture that I have. I keep it right on by my stove. It's ready to go. And then I can use it also not only teas, but also in cooking. So being that this is springtime, I like to use a spice blend that is more conducive to more springtime vegetables like cabbages and kales and collard greens and those leafy greens that you use a lot in the springtime. So this is how I make my spice mix. I have a recipe. I'm going to make some cabbage, and I would like to put some spices in it. And that recipe calls for about 1.5 teaspoons of spice. Right? So I will make my own spice mix. So I take my teaspoon, and I take 1 teaspoon of that cumin, coriander, and fennel mixture. Put it right in. I'm using a NutriBullet, but you could also use a coffee grinder or a spice grinder. And then I'm going to add to that another seed called kalonji. And kalonji is actually black caraway. It's also called onion seed. It has a really nice flavor. It pairs really well with cabbages, so all those springtime vegetables that you have out right now. It's a little black seed, and it's very small, and it's pretty potent, so you don't need as much. So I'm going to just take a 1/4 teaspoon. Take that 1/4 teaspoon and pour it right in the cup. From there, I put my lid on, and I have the lid that has just the 1 blade. So that's the blade that used the best to grind up spices. So I just put that in there, put the lid on, take my NutriBullet, put it in. Grind it up. And now I have ground kalonji or onion seed, as well as cumin, coriander, and fennel. It's all ready to go. I'm going to add 1 more spice to that before I quit. And that 1 more spice is turmeric. And turmeric is well known for its medicinal properties. It does stain, and this turmeric is organic turmeric that has already been ground. So I'm just going to use a 1/4 teaspoon of that. Go in my container, take out a 1/4 teaspoon. The thing with turmeric though is it stains. So I put it in at last. It's already ground, so I really just need to mix it in there. So you could mix it in with a whisk, but I prefer just to grind it just a little bit more. Put it in the NutriBullet. And there's my mixture ready to go. I just pour this right into with my recipe, and there you have it. As simple as that. One serving, fresh. If you could smell this, it's very fragrant, and there's really no comparison in my mind on the freshness that you get when you grind your own right before you make your meal as comparison to when they're pre-ground and they sit for a while. But we all know that we're cut for time, and you might not have time to grind your own mixture up. So when I want to have it ready to go and I don't have time to grind, I do make this in just a little bit bigger quantity. Not much, just a little bit. So you can increase your ratios. Add maybe a tablespoon of the CCFT, the mixture, and you can also add maybe a half of a teaspoon of the black caraway, and then you could maybe add a half of a teaspoon of turmeric. And people ask me, well, why do you say maybe on these, ratios? And really, the ratio that you choose is really completely up to your taste and how your body reacts to it. Keep in mind that turmeric, that orange yellow colored spice, is very heating. So if you overheat easy, if you have a lot of reflux, it can increase that. So if you have a reaction like that, you would just use a little bit less of this. Also, the black caraway seed, the onion seed, that is also very warming. So if that bothers you, cut back a little bit on that. The cumin, coriander, and fennel mixture is at a ratio that should be okay, but if you think that's too hot for you, if you try it by itself, then just increase the amount of coriander and increase the amount of fennel. Maybe, and as you adjust, you'll know how much that you need to add so that it feels good for your body. And that's how we put together an easy spice blend to use immediately to cook a meal. Thank you so much for viewing. I will be posting a part 2 and part 3 using this same mixture on how to prepare it in different ways. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at ayurvedahealthforlife.com. Thank you so much.